also sometimes.
Yes, sir.
So, and the definition of conflict, interpersonal conflict is as an expressed struggle between at least two interdependent parties who perceive incompatible goals, scarce resources, and interference from others in achieving their goals. So both of them are some goals. To reach that goals, there are some incompatibility. Okay. Sometimes difference of opinion. Just a minute. Yes, sorry for the interruption. Okay, conflict means difference of opinion. Okay, perception of incompatibility, interest between two people or two groups. Okay, so we'll see. Let's discuss about definition of conflicts. Interpersonal conflict as an expressive struggle between at least two interdependent parties. Both are dependent each other. Individual are two groups. Okay, so who pursue incompatible goals, scarce resources, and interference from others in achieving their goals. Okay, they are having some goals, but they perceive that incompatibility of goals, then scarce resources and interference from others in achieving their goals. So between two groups, they think that interference of other group, individual interference of other person. Okay, this is about definition of conflicts. So interpersonal conflict between people is a fact of life. So in a life, we'll come across so many interpersonal conflicts. And it is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, a relationship with frequent conflict may be healthier than one with no observable conflict. So anything too much is very bad, but sometimes some conflict, for example, examination conflict, examination stress is helpful to perform better in examination. Okay, so some extent. So beyond the limit, it gives negative effect. Likewise, conflicts are healthier. Not all conflicts are bad. They will help the individual to adjust themselves in a good environment, in a good manner. Okay. So interpersonal conflicts occurs at all levels of interactions, at work, among friends, within families, and between relationship partners, between wife and husband. So in this book, 127 page number, when conflict occurs, the relationship may be weakened or strengthened. So thus conflict is a critical event in the course of relationship. It is a critical event in the course of relationship. Conflict can cause resentment, hostility, and perhaps the ending of the relationship. Sometimes it will end the relationship between the two individuals or among the group. So if it is handled well, conflict can be productive. So if you handle the conflict in a good manner, careful manner, it can be a productive one, leading to deeper understanding, mutual respect, and closeness. For example, if somebody joins in a new college, okay, far away from the native place, sometimes this after MSET or NEET, IITians will join into new campuses. So there is some conflict between the group. Okay, so thus that conflict sometimes leads to deeper understanding of the individuals, mutual respect, and closeness among the students. So whether a relationship is a healthy or unhealthy depends not so much on the number of conflicts between the participants, but on how the conflicts are resolved. Okay, so it depends on the how we resolve the conflict. How we take that conflict as a how that conflict is resolved between the individuals as well as group. Okay. So nature of conflicts. Interpersonal conflict is a situation between two or more in which one person perceives that another person as negatively affected. Okay, so I perceive that I am affected negatively with that other person. Sometimes some group thinks that if they do so, it will be affected to our group. Okay, so that is negatively affected or is about to negatively affect something that is first person cares about. For example, in a marriage, conflict arises if the wife feels that the husband is not giving her importance or ignoring her. So newly married couple, so wife feels that husband is not giving her importance or ignoring her. So then conflict arises. So in this conflict, there are three elements are there. First, there is a specific perception on part of one or more of the people involved in the conflict. So, for example, newly married couple, some conflict arises, they will think that there are two or more people involved in that conflict. For example, wife feels that he ignored her, he neglected her, he is giving importance to his mother and sister, so and so. Then the perception may not be accurate, but it is held by the conflict parties. That is, the wife is ignored. Secondly, the perception is generally negative. So if she feels that ignored or neglected, it is generally negative. So one party believes that the other party is going to do something that will have a negative impact in some direct or indirect way. Then ignoring has a negative impact as it decreases the wife's self-concept, because newly married the person. So if this conflict may arise that she decreases her self concept because he doesn't care, he ignored her, so on and so forth. So the issue surrounding the conflict must be something that both parties care about. That is, both wife and husband care about their relationships. If one person does something that the other person doesn't care about, then the conflict does not exist. So if the wife feels that she uh, ignored by the her husband, but husband did not do that thing, but he simply ignored that conflict, but so there won't be any conflict between the wife and husband. So based on the definition, not all disagreements are conflicts. For example, two people may disagree on how something should be done, but a conflict doesn't exist unless both people care significantly about the issue at hand. So various viewpoints that are discussed below about this conflict. There are three views: traditional view, behavioral view, and interactionist view. First one is traditional view. So these traditional thought views the conflict negatively. It states that conflict results in violence, aggression, and destruction. So according to traditional view of conflict, so this conflict results violence, aggression, destruction. Thus, it is very important to identify and rectify the cause of conflict. So according to traditional view, this conflict results in violence, aggression, destruction. So it is very important and rectify the causes of conflict. What are the causes of conflict? View. Then second one is behavioral view. Behaviorist view conflicts as natural occurrences and as inevitable. Okay, it is a natural process. It's inevitable. According to behaviorist view, conflicts are natural occurrences and as inevitable. So they suggest that one should not develop opposite attitude towards conflict. So you have to develop positive attitude towards conflict. So that means conflict should always be viewed as a challenge, and it is necessary to resolve conflict and achieve goals. According to behaviorist view, it is a natural occurrence, okay, and inevitable. So one should not develop a positive attitude towards conflict. If some conflict is there, will always develop negative attitude towards the conflict. So conflict should always be viewed as a challenge. You have to face challenge. It is necessary to resolve conflicts and achieve our goals. Okay, there is some conflict. You have to resolve the conflict. Then you have to go. You have to lead our life. You have to move forward. Then third one is interactionist view. That is, according to this view, conflicts can lead to both positive and negative instances. Therefore, they have to be managed. Proper management of conflict minimizes the negative effects and maximizes the positive effects. So, according to interactionist view, this conflict may be two perspectives. Okay, both negative and positive sides. Okay, both positive effect and negative effects. Okay, so they have to be managed properly. Proper management of conflict minimize the negative effects and maximize the positive effects. So these are the three viewpoints about the conflicts, that is traditional view, behavioral view, and interactionist view. Then we'll move on to types of conflicts. there are two types of conflicts, that is effective conflict and substantive conflict. So according to different psychologists, they have suggested two types of conflicts, that is effective and substantive. So educational theories like Annette Brennan and use these types of classified interpersonal conflict in a classroom and school staffs. First one, effective conflicts. Effective conflict has to do with emotions. Affection means emotions, all our feelings. Okay, love, hate, bad, sad, grief, everything, with all your emotions, heart, your feelings. So those conflicts which arise from issues such as differences in relationship styles or incompatibility of two people over rules and policies. Thus, effective conflict deals with liking and disliking of people towards one another. So, if you cared by somebody, then you like her, you like him. Otherwise, you don't like that person. It is a personal conflict. This conflict deals with interpersonal disagreements. Is nearly always disruptive to mutual decision making. For example, when partners disagree because personal prejudice, these prejudices stemming from strong social, political, economic, racial, religious, ethnic, philosophical, or interpersonal biases. We have different opinions because of our background, because of our social, political, economical, racial, religious, ethnic, philosophical background. So they are seldom able to focus on the task. Therefore, effective conflict deals with interpersonal relationships or incompatibilities. It is generated from emotions and frustration and has a detrimental impact the interpersonal relationship. It is generated from the emotions. So if you show love towards other person, you will get back that same thing from the other person. If you see some person negatively, the opposite person also perceives the same thing. So it's generated from the emotions and frustration, and as they detrimental impact the interpersonal relationship because of your interpersonal emotions, your frustration. If you show something positive towards the other person, if you respect other person, you will get respect from the other person. If you want to do friendship with other person, actually, then it is you will get back from the same thing from the other person because it is a emotional relationship, emotional bonding between the two persons. So that is effective conflict means it is a interpersonal conflicts, interpersonal relationship between the two persons. Then substantive conflict. It deals with the disagreements among partners. First one is personal between the two persons. It is among groups. Substantive conflict deals with the disagreements among partners about the conflict content of the task being performed or the performance itself. So this type of conflict occurs when two or more social entities disagree on the recognition and solution to the task problem, including differences in viewpoints, ideas, and opinions. So effective conflict between the two persons, here substantive conflict among the groups, two groups. So groups means they have more than two persons. Okay. Social entities, social groups disagree on the recognition and solution to a task problem, including differences in viewpoints, ideas, and opinions. So they have differences of opinions, they have their viewpoints, they have their ideas. So, for example, at workplace, substantive conflict arises from a job through issues such as differences in pay or allotment of resources and power distribution. Okay, so salary hike, there will be conflict. Then allotment of resources and power distribution. So according to your job chart, you need to do all these things. You need to enjoy all these powers in the organization. This conflict deals with the aspect which are present in the environment. It is more situational conflict. So it is more of situational conflict. Situation arises the conflicts. Groups. So work by social psychologists and cognitive scientists refined typologies to include socio-emotional, goal-related, and cognitive components. Current Gen and proposed two new types to include many of these concepts relationship related to the task related. So different social psychologists proposed different types of conflicts. That is relationship related conflict and task related conflict. This is about the workplace conflicts. First one is relationship related conflict. Relationship conflict refers to socio-emotional or interpersonal disagreements that are usually associated with the feelings of annoyance and animosity. Moreover, in relationship conflict, the cause of the conflict is attributed to factors associated with the conflict partner or the relationship between the partners. So it is about the conflict is attributed to the factors associated with the conflict. So what are the factors? What are the causes of the particular conflict? So partner or the relationship between the partner, for example, the conflict that resolve around the tendency of one partner always to be late or fail to express his or her views or to withdraw from problem or relation related to conflict. So this type of conflict arises in situations where emotions and perceptions get in the way of relationships between people. For example, personality incompatibility, anxieties, even cultural differences might fall under relation-related conflict. So this relation-related conflict, personality incompatibility, anxieties, sometimes even cultural differences might fall under relation-related conflicts. So according to your cultural differences, for example, we have different cultures, no? Hindu, Muslim, Christian, so on and so forth, no? So because of that cultural related conflict, sometimes we may have some conflicts. Then your personality factors, your anxieties. So this is about relationship related conflict. Next one is task related conflict. So task conflict refers to conflict which arise over substantive issues such as differences of opinion or ideas about the correct way to approach a task or solve a problem. So different people have different solutions for the conflict. Okay. We have individual differences. We see some conflict very personal manner. Okay, so something is very light to some person, but it is very hard to digest in other person. Okay, it all depends on the individual again. So we have individual differences, difference of opinion, or difference of ideas about the correct way to approach a task or solve a problem. So for every problem, there is some solution. But according to our individual differences, we have different ideas, opinions, concept to resolve that particular conflict. Okay, so these are the situations that arise from the situational factors. For example, when faced with administrative decisions, definitions of duties or tasks at workplace. So conflict about where to eat on a weekend, where to spend vacation, or whether a couple can afford a new car would be a task-related conflict. Okay, so they have given some examples here about where to eat on a weekend, then where to spend vacation, summer vacation, and whether a couple can afford a new car would be task-related conflict. So they are the example for the task-related conflict. So conflict is a task or relationship oriented, is a matter of individual perceptions. Where to eat on Friday night might be both an emotional and relationship based conflict. Where to eat on Friday, where to eat on Sunday night, midnight, so on and so forth. We always go to the same place because you don't listen to me and don't care about my feelings. This is about personal conflict. So distinction between task and relationship conflict is not necessarily an objective one. Rather, it is a distinction made by the individuals who experience the conflict. Okay, something is very light to some person, but it may not be digested by other person. It is very hard to digest to the other person. So again, we have individual differences. We have different viewpoints about the conflict, about the conflict resolution also. Okay. Then another classification of conflict is based on the characteristics if conflict leads to positive or negative results. So these two types of conflicts, which are functional conflict and dysfunctional conflict, are discussed in the below. That is functional conflict and dysfunctional conflict. Above relationship related conflict or task related conflicts. Then before that, we have discussed about effective conflict and substantial conflict. So these two are functional conflict and dysfunctional conflict. What is functional conflict? Functional conflict exists when the conflict supports the goals of the group or community. It can have a very positive impact on a group productivity and improve overall group performance. So because it involves people who are genuinely interested in solving the problem, who are willing to listen to one another and who attempt to seek mutually advantageous solutions, because the conflict parties are willing to work together to deal with the issue at hand. Functional conflict can bring out diverse ideas and styles, leads to the consideration of more options, develop creativity in the problem solving process, get interested in addressing the issue at hand, and ultimately lead to more effective decisions. So this functional conflict is a positive one. It has a positive impact on the group productivity. So same group, like-minded people working together and improve overall group performance. So because it involves people who are genuinely interested in solving the problem. So all the people in the group will genuinely interested in solving the problem. So they are willing to listen to one another. They respect one another in the group and attempt to seek mutually advantageous solutions. Okay, so they want to talk to each other. They are willing to listen to one another, and they want to seek mutually advantageous solutions. Okay, so the conflict parties are willing to work together to deal with the issue at hand. So functional conflict can bring out diverse ideas and styles, lead to consideration for more options, develop creativity in the problem solving process, get interested in addressing the issue at hand, and ultimately leads to more effective decisions. Because in the group, they are like-minded people. They want to work. They are willing to listen one another. They want to respect one another. They want mutual advantage solutions. So this is functional conflict. So with this functional conflict, it will be effective. It will lead to effective decision making. The next one is dysfunctional conflict. Dysfunctional conflict consists of disputes, disagreements, and conflict that hinder group performance. Okay, because this is not functional. This is dysfunctional. Okay, opposite to functional conflict. It has got it has consist of disputes, disagreements, and conflict that hinder group performance. So there is a disputes among the group, then disagreements among the group. They won't be functional at all. It leads to dysfunctional. So this type of conflict, which is more prevalent, typically involves people who are unwilling to work together to bring about mutual advantage solution, opposite to functional one. So here they are unwilling to work together. They don't want to mutually advantage solution. So this type of conflict becomes personalized. People can grow to dislike one another, and even if the conflict is very small to begin with, it can grow very rapidly. That is why it is very important to address conflict as soon as they arises. So you have to address the conflict as soon as arises. So dysfunctional conflict can bring about many negative outcomes within the group, including decreased quality of communication, discontent, damaged relationships, decreased productivity, reduced group cohesiveness and performance, and inability to achieve goals. Because they are not willing to work together, they don't listen each other, they won't take mutually advantageous solutions. So automatically it leads to group decreased quality of communication, discontent, damaged relationships, decreased productivity, reduced group cohesiveness and performance, and inability to achieve goals. This is dysfunctional. Then cause of conflicts. They have mentioned 5 causes for conflicts. That is poor communication, perceived differences, power struggle, allocation of resources and privileges, conflicts over values. First one, poor communication, where the parties are not able to express themselves, verbalize their needs, state the point adequately, provide a logical and argument, or listen effectively, conflict can arise. These are the different causes. That is not able to express themselves, verbalize their needs, state the point adequately, provide logical and argument, or listen effectively, conflict can arise. So the more limited the communication skills a person has, the greater possibility of physical violence. So a conflict arises when patient has run out amongst the two parties and they want to establish their viewpoint as being correct and want to partner or the spouse to agree to it. So no patient means there will be a more conflict. So a conflict arises when patience has run out among the two parties, whether group or individual. Patience is not there, then it has got conflict. Next one is perceived differences. Humans from group naturally, and humans, we are a social animal. We need group for everything. We belong to some group. We want to work with group. We take advices from the group. Sometimes we give advices to group. Okay, so humans form groups naturally, and so they need to distinguish their group from outsiders. So we want to form a group. The functional group or dysfunctional group, we'll decide later, but we want to form a group naturally, and so they need to distinguish their groups from outsiders. For example, during Ganesh, what is it called? Ganesh immersion, we'll form a group. Okay, we want to show our is a distinct group when compared to other groups, other association, youth association, colony welfare association, so on and so forth. This can lead to positive conflict between races, religion, political system, and even teams or departments at work, making some people feel out of the place. Okay, so we'll work in a group, we work in a system, in a team or department. So ours is the education department, somebody is psychology department, political science, sociology, so on and so forth. We want to have some group, that is political system, teams or department at work, making some people feel out of the place. So this is about perceived differences. We work in a group. We want to show our group is a different from the other groups, as a department, as a team, as a political system, as a races, as a religion, so on and so forth. Then next one is power struggle. Power struggle leads to conflict when people in hierarchical position in various fields foster authoritarian control, monopolize decision making, and rule unfairly and unjustly for the benefit of the few to the disadvantage of the many. For example, in a democracy, where all people are equal, but in a monopoly, in autocratic situation, one rules, one will take power from the others. So in any organization, this power struggle leads to conflict when people in hierarchy position in various fields foster authoritarian control, monopolize decision making, and rule unfairly and unjustly for the benefit of the few to the disadvantage of the many. So if any company or management, somebody enjoys the power, if they want to benefit from the few, benefit of the few, and to the disadvantage of the many, if they want to work for the top order, only managers, if they enjoy power, everything, so it leads to disadvantage of the many employees in the organization. That is power struggle. Then fourth one is allocation of resources and privileges. So overpopulation and population density denies people enough space to live and promotes competition. So competition over jobs, promotions, places, on a team, siblings rivalry, etc. leads to problems in interpersonal relations. For example, competition over jobs. For example, there are 1,000 jobs, but 1 lakh people are unemployed by this. They want to seek the job. So 1,000 is to 1 lakh people. So there will be a very high competition among the unemployed youth. Then sometimes promotions. Then places on a team. Then sometimes sibling rivalry, etc. Sibling rivalry, etc. leads to problems in interpersonal relations. This is allocation of the resources and privileges. So resources are very less, but there are the people are very population is very high. So you have less resources, the population density is very high, then it leads to conflict. So less jobs, more aspirants leads to again conflicts. So conflicts over values. So values tell us which goal are worth adopting and what means to achieve these goals are appropriate. People having different goals may also have different ways of achieving, in which leads to conflict. So we have different goals. These different goals arises different conflicts. We choose different ways to achieve it, which leads to conflict. So we have short-term goals and long-term goals. Because of our individual differences, we have different ways to reach our goals. We have different opinion to resolve conflicts. So this is about conflicts over values. Then one is resolution of conflicts. So conflicts run all the way from minor unimportant differences to disputes which can threaten the existence of relationship. Okay, some conflicts may be minor, unimportant differences to dispute which can threaten the existence of relationship. Conflict with a loved one or long-term friend are often are of course different from negotiating with someone who doesn't care about your needs, like a stranger or a salesperson. So there is a underlying principle that underscores all successful conflict resolution. So that is both parties must view their conflict as a problem to be solved mutually, so that both parties have the feeling of winning, or at least finding a solution which is acceptable to both. So each person must participate actively in the resolution and make an effort and commitment to find answers which are as fair as possible to both. So you have to find for every problem, every conflict, there is some solution. So both parties should understand, should take a mutual conflict resolution. So each person must participate actively in the resolution and make an effort and commitment to find answers which are as fair as possible to both. So you have to take fair decision as possible to find the solution, to find the answers which are as fair as possible to the both parties. So this is an easy principle to understand, but it is often difficult to put into practice. So theoretically it is very easy, but when it put into practice, sometimes it may be difficult to practice. So theory is different from practice. So conflicts are common as it can happen at almost all levels of communication. So it is a common, it is our daily life situations. We may face, we may come across so many conflicts within the family, the community, and workplace also. So, but conflicts are critical, and how you solve them depend on how one handles them. So if you take conflict as a simple, it is very minor, it is very unimportant. Sometimes you think that it is very big burden. So how you solve your conflict is depending on your personality, your personal thing, and how one handles them. So you may face many conflicts throughout your career, throughout your life, but how you resolve the conflict, how you pursue the conflict is how you handle that is most important. So there are number of ways interpersonal conflicts can be handled, and they are depend on how people handle them. Okay, there are given some steps to resolve the conflict. That is, understand the cause of the conflict, understand the intensity of the problem, select a strategy for resolving the conflict, collaboration, it is win and win, domination, win and lose, accommodation, lose win, avoidance, lose lose. Okay, these are the different conflict resolution techniques. First one is understand the cause of the conflict. So we want to understand what are the causes of the conflict. The first and most important step in the conflict resolution process is to clearly understand the specific cause of conflict. So what are the cause of the conflict? So the cause of any conflict will fall under one or more of the following categories. That is information. People see the same data or fact from different points of view. Second one is process. People disagree on how something should be done. Objectives, people have different goals and agendas. Value, people differ in their basis, beliefs and views, and styles, people different in their personality. Communication or work styles. Major reason for unsuccessful conflict resolution is failure to accurately identify the true cause of the conflict. If you identify the true cause of the conflict, it is done. You can resolve the conflict very easily, very effectively. Then understand the intensity of the problem. So one of the cause of the conflict is identified. Next, it is important the level of intensity of the conflict. What is the intensity of the problem? What is the intensity of the conflict? You have to identify the intensity. Okay. The two aspects have to understood here. One is how interested in each party in resolving the conflict. The resolution process will work only if both parties are willing to address the conflict. For example, if conflict arises between the two persons, so you have to come, both parties are willing to address the conflict. Both parties means both individuals or both groups. If they are willing to address the conflict, then you can resolve the conflict. Second, how firm or how flexible will each party be during the conflict resolution process. So the more flexible each person is, greater likelihood of achieving a mutually satisfying resolution. If both mutually understand the conflict intensity, and you want to come the solutions, you want to come to agreement to solve your conflict, the more flexible each person is, the greater likelihood of achieving a mutually satisfying resolution. If you both are come mutual understanding, then it will be resolved. Set a strategy for resolving the conflict. There are 4 basic conflict resolutions, each leading to a specific outcome. So there are different strategies for conflict resolution. That is collaboration, that is win and win. Domination, win and lose. Accommodation, lose win. Avoidance, lose lose. First one is collaboration. win and win. So it's designed to help the conflict parties work together to find a advantageous solution to a problem so that each person is satisfied with the outcome. So both parties work together to find advantageous solution to problem so that each person is satisfied with the outcome. So it is a win and win strategy. Both parties, whether individual or group, they have to come together. They have to find advantageous solution to problem so that each person is satisfied with the outcome. For example, family conflict can be resolved. Family conflict can be solved using collaboration so that all people in the family are satisfied. So in a family, there is some conflict. So they have to solve the problem in a collaboration using by using collaboration strategy. That is collaboration so that the people in the family are satisfied. So this conflict can be solved. All the family members will sit together. They want to resolve the conflict. This is a win and win strategy. So both of them are winners. Next one is domination, win and lose. So it is a strategy in which one of the conflicting parties tries to win the conflict by forcing his or her solution on the other. So it is a win and lose. So here one is a dominant personality. So in this strategy, one of the conflicting parties are tries to win the conflict by forcing his or her solution on the other. So you have to forcefully give the solution to that particular conflict. You want to dominate the situation. That is win and lose. So this winning person is will dominate the other person. Other person is loser. One is winner, other one is loser. So for example, the boss in the office resolves the conflict by dominating his subordinate. Usually it happens in everywhere. So boss is always dominates his subordinates. In a hierarchy. In a hierarchy, boss always dominates over subordinates. So boss is a winner, then subordinates are losers. It is a win and lose strategy. Next one is accommodation, lose and win. So one of the conflicting parties is willing to sacrifice their desired outcome and give into other disputant. So it is more important to them to maintain harmony and keep relationship. So here lose and win means, so here both parties are having some conflict, but one party is they want to sacrifice, willing to sacrifice their desired outcome and give into other disputant. It is more important to them to maintain harmony and keep relationship intact. So this one person is want to sacrifice for the other person. He want to lose in the situation because he want to maintain harmony and keep relationship intact with the other person. So for example, a wife compromises on so many issues with her husband to have a harmonious marital relationship. Sometimes in a marital relationship, wife sacrifices, compromises in so many issues with her husband to have a harmonious marital relationship. This is lose and win. So she sacrifices, she compromises in so many issues with her husband for want of harmonious marital relationship. Accommodation, lose and win. Next one is avoidance, lose and lose. Fourth one. So the final conflict resolution strategy focuses on avoiding the conflict altogether. The parties do not do anything to resolve the conflict, and therefore neither a person is likely to get outcome they desire. So avoidance may be effective when the conflict does not need immediate resolution. If they want time, they can choose this strategy, that is avoidance. So both parties are at a loss here. Conflict is never solved and often lingers in the background during the interaction between the parties and creates the potential for further tensions and even more conflict. So this strategy, it is not only requires the conflicting parties to work together to find a mutually satisfying solution, but it tends to facilitate outcomes which benefit the interpersonal relationship. Different strategies for conflict resolution. So far, we have discussed about 15, unit 15, that is interpersonal conflicts. We have discussed about nature of conflict, then types of conflicts, then cause of conflicts, then resolution of conflicts. Now it is time to discuss. You can clarify your doubts. I will try to clarify your doubts. If you have any doubts, please feel free to ask me. If you have any queries, yes. Any doubts regarding this unit, interpersonal conflicts?
No, sir.
Okay. If no doubts, I'll move on to next unit. That is unit number 16, prejudice and discrimination. Yes. What do you mean by prejudice? Prejudice.
The
Jealous.
prejudice is when we hold unjustified views about somebody.
Yes. Somebody, some race, some caste,
Race, caste, yes.
some social class, grudge also. You want to bias. We have some bias
Bias.
over particular party, particular class, caste, or society sometimes. It's, you like some gender, sometimes gender bias. So human species is characterized into a number of races based on certain genetic factors as physical characteristics. For example, in American, there are Caucasians, African Americans, Asians, etc., who differ from each other physically as well as genetically. However, being different, now we make as race psychologically or culturally superior to another. For example, blacks and whites. Sometimes South Indians, North Indians, sometimes Northeasterns. Okay, we have all are Indians, but we may have some features alike sometimes. Okay. There is some difference of opinion about North Indians and South Indians. Sometimes they want to introduce Hindi. So North states are North Indians like Hindi as a national language, whereas South Indians, particularly Tamilians, they won't agree Hindi as a national language. They like English. So there are some sort of prejudice over the some race, caste, creed, and other things. So we are prejudiced against people when we assume that they have certain characteristics and when they are different from us. For example, North Indians, South Indians, and North Asian people. We have some prejudice about the some of the characteristics. So these assumptions develop when we do not have direct contact with them or we fear them due to they being a minority and different from us. Some prejudice might also be passed on from one generation to another, such as those against minority groups or women. So there are some prejudice about some groups, some caste, religious, cultural, so on and so forth. So according to Baron and Brain, a prejudice is an attitude usually negative towards the members of some groups based solely on their membership in the particular group. So prejudice is an unjustified evaluative reaction to a member of a racial, ethnic, or other minority group that occurs because of objects membership in that group. So a prejudice may be unjustified for several reasons because it involves prejudgment, it is illogical, it is derived from hearsay or from a racist institution, or it leads to one to over categorize and treat individual on the basis of a group affiliation. For example, tribes, nomadic tribes. In tribes, there were different categories. So the prejudice is defined as favorable or unfavorable attitude, either positive or negative, while recognizing that a negative orientation is more frequently the case. So usually prejudice means negative opinion towards particular group, caste, class, race, so on and so forth, because of their characteristics, because of their racial, ethnic, and because of their minority group. Then nature of prejudice. Prejudice is a type of attitude. It has all three components of attitudes. That is cognitive component, affective component, and behavioral component. So cognitive component of prejudice is a stereotype. Stereotypes are exaggerated beliefs about a group based on irrational attributions. Stereotype is the action of assignment attributes to a person solely on the base of the class or category to which he belongs to. It has three categories, that is, persons are categorized according to certain identified characteristics. Perceives a person on the attributes that the person in the category possesses. Discrepancy exists between attributes, traits, and actual traits. This is a cognitive component. Yes, stereotype 1. Stereotype are exaggerated beliefs about a group based on the irrational attributions. Stereotype is the action of assigning attributes to the person solely on the basis of the class or category to which he or she belongs to. Because of their caste, because of their category, we have different prejudice. That is cognitive component. Then affective component refers to deep feeling of hostility towards a group. This includes racism, casteism. So the emotional content of prejudice for a particular individual is thought of a point on a continuum ragging from an extremely favorable feeling for an extremely negative feeling. A person who is prejudiced should be a consistent in his prejudice in a wide variety of situations. This component is strong in an individual if such emotional hostility has been imbibed from parents and family. So we may form some prejudice over particular religion, caste, creed, group from it will be imbibed from parents and family. For example, we belong to some caste, some class, some values, some beliefs, some group. We may imbibed from parents and family about other groups, other caste, other beliefs, other race, and so on and so forth. That is affective component. Next one is behavioral component of a prejudice is prejudice in action. Emotional hostility provides motivation to act against the group. So if you want to act against that particular group, it determines the manifestation of prejudice. That manifestation of prejudice in a behavior towards an outgroup varies from minor to major forms. These forms are carried into different types. So this is a behavioral component. Behavioral component means action against some group. Okay. Whether it is minor or major forms. Okay. This behavioral component is 5 types. That is anti-locution, avoidance, discrimination, physical attack, extermination. Anti-locution, this refers to hostile talk, verbal unfair criticism, jokes, etc. This form is widely spread among upper castes in relation to lower castes. So upper caste to lower caste. So they want to do verbal unfair criticism towards jokes towards lower castes. The next one is avoidance. So keeping distance from the members of a group, but not actively inflicting harm. For example, avoiding untouchables or avoiding a locally where avoiding a locality where majority of the people belong to a particular religion or caste. So avoidance means they want to avoid particular caste. For example, upper caste, they want to avoid lower caste people. They want to keep distance from them, distance from the members of a group. For example, avoiding untouchables or avoiding their locality by the upper caste people. Then discrimination. This refers to actively and explicitly expressing one's attitude in conduct towards a group. It is differential treatment of individuals considered to belong to a particular group. So it is a categorical treatment of a person because of his membership in a particular group. So these groups have a devised some privilege of rights that are accorded to the other members of the society who do not belong to the minority group. For instance, discrimination women from certain jobs thinking that they are not capable of doing jobs. So discrimination of women, discrimination of women from certain jobs, thinking they are not capable of doing the job. So this is about discrimination. Then physical attack. This form includes physical harm, communal rights, and violence. You may come across so many issues with these communal rights during possessions, during Hanuman Jayanti and other possessions. They will have uh, communal rights and violence also. Then extermination. This refers to driving a group of people out of the country or kingdom due to prejudice and hostility. This form was prevalent in earlier society. It is not applicable now. So because of their they were driving a group of people out of the country. So this refers to driving a group of people out of the country. You want to, for example, when India divided into India, Pakistan. Okay, so some community people will be went to Pakistan. Okay, but it is not applicable now. Okay, these are the different types of behavioral component prejudice. So next one is cause of prejudice. So this prejudice are a product of multiple causes. These causes are also varied. They are political, social, economic, and psychological causes. Many theories about the causes of prejudice are formulated, which are discussed below. Okay, they have formulated different theories. That is frustration aggression theory, theory of relative deprivation, realistic group conflict theory, social categorization, socio-cultural theory, role of social learning, socio-economic status. Okay, first one is frustration aggression theory. This theory proposed by Dollard, 1939. The frustration always produces aggression, which in turn leads to prejudice. Environmental factors such as low economic status and hardships of poverty can escalate frustration, which produces aggression. Aggression can either be reduced by indulging in aggressive sports, etc., or can be displaced by displacement. The frustration is directed not towards the real source of, but against a weaker, inferior target or a minority group. Frustration against the inferior or minority group leads to prejudice. So this is frustration aggression. These frustrated people will always target the minority group. Frustration against the inferior or minority group leads to prejudice. This is a frustration aggression theory. Second one is theory of relative deprivation. Relative deprivation occurs where individuals or group subjectively perceive themselves as unfairly disadvantaged over others perceived as having similar attributes and deserving similar rewards. It is subjective concept. It implies that an individual or a group perceived himself relatively deprived in relation to another individual group. For example, a worker might feel that he is being deprived of a promotion and feels prejudice towards the superior. So this relative deprivation may be result of prejudice or a cause of prejudice. So a worker might feel that he is being deprived of a promotion and feels prejudice towards the superior because he won't get promotion. So he feels deprivation of privileges toward the superior, his boss. So this relative deprivation may be result of prejudice or cause of prejudice. Next one is realistic group conflict theory. So as there is high level of competition in every field of life, example, jobs, status, etc. Thus, it is biased towards the others who are enjoying them. Prejudice stems from competition between various social groups or valued communities. So, for example, this prejudice is very common in a unemployed youth because there are very less opportunities in the job, money and status. So prejudice stems from the competition between various social groups over valued communities. So the theory further suggests that if some competition continues, the members of the groups involved see the members of the other groups as enemies and feel that their own group is right. Okay. So for any job, there are some reservations. There are different categories. Open category, OBC, BC, SC, ST. So they feel that their own group is right, then other groups are wrong. That is relational group conflict theory. Then social categorization. So often individuals divide the social world around them into two distinct categories, that is us and them. They view some people as belong to their group and this is in the group and others as belong to the out group. So us and them. So people adopt favorable terms to those who belong to in group and unfavorable attribute to the outer group and often see them in negative light. This is social categorization. So they divide into social group into two categories, that is us and them. So us means they are favorable. They feel in group. Then them means unfavorable attributes out of the group. Then socio-cultural theory. Sociologists and anthropologists emphasize the socio-cultural factors as determinants of prejudice. So among these factors, the phenomena of increased urbanization, mechanization, and complexity. So the upward mobility of certain groups, the increased emphasis of competence and training, scarcity of jobs, and competition to get them, the increased population in the in the face of limited amount of resources. So resources very limited, but population is increasing. So and changes in the role and function of family with associated with changes in the standard of morality. For example, 30 years, 40 years back, we live in a combined family, giant family. Now, we are living in a nuclear family because of modernization, mechanization, because of employment opportunities, urbanization, so on and so forth. Then, role of social learning. It is widely accepted that ethnic identities are the major cause of prejudice, and ethnic identities are formed during the process of socialization. So major factors that they play a crucial role during socialization and parenting style, attitudes and prejudice are present, community one belongs to. So children require a negative attitude toward the specific social groups because they are exposed to such views from parents and their community because of their exposure, because of their parenting style, because of their community. So they have some negative attitude towards the specific social groups because they are exposed to such views from the parents in their community. They are also specified rewarded from the adopting such behavior. For example, praising for making friends only with people of their caste and not with people of other caste. So happens in the schools and colleges. They tend to be make the friendship with their own caste, own group. Then next one is socio-economic status. Contains that there is a relatively strong relation between one's social class and the level of prejudice. Higher level of prejudice are seen in people of lower socio-economic status. Most research indicates that people with higher levels of education scores lower on most measures of prejudice. So if you are well educated, you are having low scores on prejudice. So the apparent relation between education and prejudice may also be due to other effects. So perhaps people with higher levels of education, people simply know how to respond with politically correct answers regarding racial and ethnic issues, thus making their true feelings. So this is about socio-economic status. Then methods to reduce prejudice. That is symptomatic theory approach, change in personality, catharsis, self-insight training, reducing conflict, arousing aspects of our environment. Then direct approach, socio-cultural approach. In this, there are simple stereotype disruption, unlearning assumed incongruent beliefs, the consistency game, shared coping approach, and creating of superordinate goal. So methods to reducing prejudice, that is symptomatic theory approach and direct approach. First one is symptomatic theory approach. So the symptomatic theory approach, theories of prejudice states that the inner group opinion, inner group opposition can be reduced by only by decreasing the psychological conflict and anxiety. Therefore, restructuring personality is important for prejudice, for reducing prejudice. The techniques in this approach is different one. That is changes in personality, catharsis, self-insight training, reducing the conflict arising of our environment. First one is changes in personality. So theories who support authoritarian personality as cause of prejudice argue that this kind of prejudice can only be reduced by restructuring the personality traits. So we have to restructure their personality, then only their prejudice will be decreased. Then catharsis. A catharsis is an emotional release. According to psychoanalytic theory, this emotional release is linked to a need to release unconscious conflict. For example, experience stress, work-related situation may cause feelings of frustration and tension. Okay, I think so far we have covered 2 units, that is interpersonal conflicts and prejudice and discrimination. If you have any doubts, I will take one or two questions. Any doubts and queries? Okay, if no doubts, I will close the class.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We'll close the class now. Thank you.